Blakey and Tux, they're talking Cardiff City and some other stuff. Blakey and Tux, Dolly asked the questions on Blakey's Bootroom. Will always be blue.
Hello, welcome to another Blakey's Bootroom. I'm Gareth Rogers. With me once again, Nathan Blake, Steve Tucker. Sorry, no Danny Gavard this week, but we'll try and crack on and do the best we can. Another great...
No guests this week at all, no. Just have to put up with us.
I think we'll do our best.
Okay, let's do it. Right, yeah.
Yeah, good win, wasn't it, Steve? On the back of a disappointing midweek defeat.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird in a way. Looking back at that Leeds game, I think Cardiff probably played better against Leeds than they did against Ipswich.
Yeah.
But obviously lost that and got the result here. That's the way it works out. You know, I mean, a really big win for the Bluebirds against Ipswich. I think they started level on points, gives them that little bit of a distance. I think there was 10 minutes at one point in the afternoon when they were actually in the playoffs, weren't they? Which was exciting. But I think Sheffield Wednesday forged ahead at Forest with the result that we've seen with Dougie Freedman. But I was saying to Blakey, I think the good thing I liked about the Cardiff win against Ipswich was they did a few of the things they've not managed to do all season that we've been talking about on here and wanting to see them do. They didn't play that well and they won, which they haven't done enough of. There weren't many chances really in the game. Cardiff got theirs, took the chance, then they held on to the lead. I mean, okay, it was hardly a backs to the wall performance. I thought Ipswich were a little bit, limited really.
Yeah.
You know, so they played into Cardiff hands away. But no, it was a good, kind of straightforward kind of win, and as I say, a vital one that you know. The dream is still on.
Well, like we said against Leeds, guys, after the Leeds game, we were saying you won't play worse than that, you know, and win games. But they've played a lot worse next game and won. It's crazy. You know what I mean? It's something that they hadn't done all season, like Tuck said. But I felt against Leeds, they were, you know. They deserve something from the game. I think naivety caught them out at Leeds, at home against Leeds, if I'm totally honest. The two goals, very similar. Counter-attack. I mean, the second goal, you're just thinking like, you know, the lad on the halfway line on his own. Manga is like, I thought to myself, Manga should have gone over a lot sooner and maybe committed himself. And if the guy does him, then he does him. Do you know what I mean? With the pass inside. I just felt he left it too long for him to roll it into the net. Yeah. The way he did, it was just really naive. The first goal, very similar, pushing on, leaving the back door wide open, and you know they just walked through it. But they played very good. You know, the tempo was good. I don't think Leeds could live with their tempo, if I'm totally honest.
10 men as well.
You know, exactly. And you know, it was disappointing to come away with a defeat because they had at the very least, deserved a draw from that game. But then typical of our season is, you know, the team you're expected to go and beat quite comfortably. You don't, and then you come up against someone who's like on level terms, if you like, or expected to do pretty okay this season, and you go and beat them 1-0. I think that's going to be the story of our season. I really do. I think we're just...
Isn't that the story of Cardiff City, full stop? I can't remember how many seasons you look back and you know, they've had some sort of thing, we're going to do the, you know, Torquay, we're going to do them. And the next week, no, we got, you know, Northampton or whatever.
I just thought to myself, the Leeds was such an opportunity missed.
Yeah.
Because we were being 2 points ahead of Sheffield Wednesday, right, if you win that game. But, you know, Sheffield now go a point ahead of us, and Ipswich have 2 games in hand on us. They, you know... It wouldn't surprise me.
They've got a game in hand.
It's only one now.
One game in hand then. But it wouldn't surprise me. But they can go 2 points ahead of us, I think, with that game.
No, I think they go level on
points.
points.
Well, there's someone behind Ipswich. Birmingham got 2 games in hand. And I think
they've only got one as well. I think
they're
all on the same.
Didn't they play yesterday?
They played Wolves yesterday.
they would have played. So they would have had one yesterday. So that's a point.
Yeah.
But they could have gone, I think, 3 points ahead of us if they won their 2 games. Well,
yeah,
they can still.
But I think now they're both
They've got
3
one
points
game
behind with 1 game in hand.
Right.
It's all
closing.
So it's all closing up. So
brilliant.
It is. And then what's happened at Middlesbrough? I don't know what's going on there.
Could go to
what I was going to say was, if there's one game you wanted to win last week, it was really Ipswich, because that was a 6-pointer, wasn't it? Not only did Cardiff win,
impossible a 6-pointer. As Russell Slade.
I don't know. They are 6-pointers, but you don't get 6 points for a game. You get 3 points. I think the problem is that when you're all around about each other like that, when the opportunity arises to win 2 games back to back, and then try and get into the playoffs and give yourself a bit of breathing space with a point or 2. We're just falling short every time. We just seem to be there, and then you think, no.
We were in there for 10 minutes, about 20 past 3.
But it feels like another week's gone by.
Yeah.
And within the same,
we're a bit closer, but again, we're just not. We don't want to be. Yeah. Maybe
they've kind of done the. Fair play. They're back up to a point now. They're right. Okay, one of them's got a game in hand, but their rivals are 3 points behind them. Sheffield.
But it's more lost opportunity.
Derby 3 points.
What it is,
Derby's a whole subject in its
it's
own
more
right,
lost opportunity for me. That is what I think will be our undoing in the end. Rather than other teams playing well and getting away from us, I think it'll be our own undoing, our own missed opportunities.
The one thing everyone's been talking about this week, Steve, is how the crowd suddenly seemed to have turned. Particularly during our Leeds game, when with 10 men, they were throwing everything at it.
Yeah.
They lost and they were applauded off, and then same again against Ipswich. The people turned out, even though the rugby was on. There was still 15,000 there. And
was there rugby on? Was there?
Apparently so. Yeah.
And it seems. Don't bother. Gaz, I don't bother with the minority sports.
That's fair.
You know me. I don't bother.
But suddenly it's flipped.
All hate mail to
what?
Steve
There's
Tucker
nobody into rugby. I'm watching a Bluebirds fan. Dividing their loyalties like that. I think so. I said that in the match, but I think this. Actually, one thing is this. I think I mentioned it last week. This kids' tickets. I know you're not a big thing about ticket giveaways, but that's added like 1,000, 1,500 to the crowd. They're kids, but there must be adults with them. You wouldn't send kids on your own unless you didn't like your kids, obviously. But so that swelled it a little, and those that are there. Yeah, the atmosphere is a lot better. But as the Ipswich game was ticking down, I noted there, Cardiff City, greatest team in football, ringing round the ground. And when did we last say that about it? So fair play to that. And of course, the biggest transformation has been this kind of like almost Malky Mackay-esque Russell Slade at the end on there, doffing his cap, and it's. It's a turnaround for me, and it's one that you couldn't argue that the Slade obviously deserves. We've said it all along. He had a big. He first came in, everyone was like, right, okay, let's Wikipedia, Google Russell Slade because I've never heard of the geezer or whatever, and his CV was hardly glowing. There was that. So he faced a lot of people against him. I think he is winning fans.
I've always
round.
said I think it was a combination of stuff. I don't think it was Russell on his own. You know what I mean? I just
No, I'm just talking
the fact
about
that he hadn't been at the higher league club was the reason why people jumped on it. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people jumped at him because they were aggrieved that so many other things going on at the club. And I think he understands that, or he should understand.
Hey, hang on.
That.
If they brought Pulis in, then do you think they would have been on Pulis's back because of a combination of other things as well? No.
Yeah. I think you still had. I still think you had a section of fans.
It was just another
who have
negative
stayed away.
Thing.
Exactly.
But obviously for crowds, there's a lot of variations. I think the antagonism towards Slade was very much the impression of that he wasn't up to the job.
Yeah, but if you take someone's attitude at the end of one bad day, it'd be totally different to someone's attitude at the end of a bad year.
Well,
do you understand what I mean?
Well,
because the human emotion, you're not going to be able to just keep making decisions that fans see as negative and then just keep going on and on and on. What I'm saying, there's been a long period of infighting, if you like, between fans and club, and I think that had a lot to do with the reason why people, as soon as the announcement was made, were like, another bad decision, not having it,
Okay, fine.
So regardless of whether you think he was the right man for the job, yes or no, all I'm saying is what had happened prior to him coming here didn't help his situation.
No, and also, let's be honest, he didn't help his own situation because the team has been inconsistent.
Exactly.
There was a lot of cynicism there. They'd win a game and they'd have everyone going, well, okay, he won a game, you know next week they're going to blow it. And they invariably did, as we talked about. They couldn't go on a run.
4-4-2
so,
thing and the
you know,
ball.
and the team itself, people saying he still hasn't found his right team. That's been going right through to March as well. So I'm hardly saying these people, again, because I've been one of them critical, I'm hardly saying these people who were critical and now changing their minds are somehow kind of hypocrites, because that's not how it works.
That's life, isn't it?
No, it's just better.
Performances have improved.
Yeah,
the team looks a better shape. It's got a better balance.
Exactly. So
and
you, like you say,
taking leads out, results have improved.
You give credit
as well.
where it's
Yeah,
due, and that's what I always say. It's not personal.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. I played as a footballer, and sometimes it would cross over and become personal with people. But the reason why I never like read the papers and stuff like that, because there's no point getting down if someone like Steve Tucker says, "Oh, you've had a bad game." What does he know? So why am I going to get upset? Just like if someone like Steve Tucker writes, "Oh, you know, he's had a great game." What does he know again? Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
Blakey, you're
it wasn't
undermining my presence.
So it wasn't.
He's in the room.
Who's going to go on? Who's going to go on and watch the show with the other guy saying doesn't know what the hell he's on about?
It wasn't something. It wasn't something that I used
What are you thinking twice? You're asking you anything now.
Get too high or too low on, and that's what I always try and maintain. So you try and create a happy medium.
Crikey, this guy's a football manager.
Yeah.
You don't become a football manager. You're like, oh, I don't like criticism. I don't.
Exactly.
Bonkers, wouldn't you? It's totally the wrong job.
And like I always say, it was only the criticism is analysing the game. You can't watch something that is poor and then that was absolutely fantastic. We couldn't be on here going, wow, another
Some
great
people have tried
performance.
that,
Yeah,
it has happened.
It doesn't work, does it? You know, because then people stop watching, people stop buying the paper because at the end of the day, right? Well, I was at the game and I didn't see it that way.
This guy was watching a different game.
Exactly.
I think as long as you're trying to tell the truth in what you're writing.
This is getting some brilliant comments and questions.
Oh, good.
Please
I should lift the show.
This is brilliant. I mean, Luke is asking, do you think Slade will get a new contract?
Yes, I do. I've said it
we spoke about this last week.
You've said it for ages.
I mean, firstly, should he? Secondly, will he? I guess I'll come to you, Steve. You know, you apparently don't know what you're talking about. Let's ask. We'll ask you anyway.
I may as well, just for the hell of it.
He always gives me stick about pictures about top I got, so that's what I'm
I still say that wet look gel will come back. You couldn't go near.
Just like that balding look is just coming in.
This is my big thing, my hair. If you went within 20 yards of him with a naked flame, you went up like a Roman candle, governor.
Okay, Slade. Should he get a new contract? Will he get a new contract?
First, the second one first. Will he? I still think it's in the lap of the gods. I still think there's a decision. I don't think a decision has yet been made. As Blakey said, there's one man who makes that decision. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't speak for him. From what I can gather, I think he's still undecided and sees no reason at this point
to change it.
To change it. I mean, I thought Gabs last week made a point, didn't he, when he said, "I've never heard the like of a manager coming to." You know, how often does a manager run out his contract? You know what I mean?
I'm hoping to get a Bosman somewhere.
He's left the club after his contract ended. Do you know what I mean? The manager, you never see it, do you? It never happens. Either headhunted by someone or fired. So, I think though, given the unusual situation, I still think a decision's not been made. Should he? I think I would reserve judgment myself almost on it in the sense that, you know, look at the various scenarios. Let's look at the best scenario.
He's going to bring it down.
He gets them up.
Yeah.
I think if he takes them up, he should get a new deal. Personally.
Yeah. unthinkable.
Yeah, but I think most people would go the other way. I think most people would say if he got them promoted to the Premier League, then we would change manager.
Look, my point would be, he's confounded...
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, okay, hang on,
Don't beat me up.
I'm interrupting. If you don't mind. Rubbish interruption. I'm interrupting if you don't mind. I would go the other way in the sense that, look, I mean, if he got them up, he would have completely confounded expectation of what was expected of him.
Correct.
What's to say, going into the Premier League, he doesn't manage it again? I think the jury would very much be out, but I think he would deserve to get a run against into that.
Yeah, I'd agree with
Get
that.
them in the playoffs and not go up. There'd be a big argument then to say he does deserve a new contract. And again, he did confound their expectations. They got in the playoffs. They lost to Derby over 2 legs or whoever. I think if he doesn't make the playoffs,
just finishes just outside.
Yeah, finishes just outside, which just looks like what they're going to do. They'd have to really, mess it up to drop away. I would say he would be in a vulnerable situation, because I think people would look at what he's done, and he has done well, but particularly discarding the bad eggs that again Gabs was on about last week and all that, cutting the wage bill. He still didn't, we spoke about a talented squad. We have all season. I mean, I'm sure Blakey would still maybe go, they should be in the top 2, you could say.
I would say,
So people might look upon that as a failure then, and come the summer, particularly with a desire to boost crowds and all that, perhaps we would see a new sort of thank you, but no thank you, see Russell, and maybe a kind of crowd boosting someone come in.
Well,
But
Bob even says he thinks if City go up, Tan will bring somebody else in. I mean, what do you say, Blake?
I would say that's probably more likely.
I think it would be harsh.
But I think it'd be incredibly harsh.
But I'm not saying it's not going to happen. Right?
Yeah, I would think it'd be incredibly harsh. But
unless there's some kind of row behind the scenes.
I don't think there is. I get the feeling that Russell Slade and Vincent Tan are probably the closest out of everybody up in from the manager upwards. So like we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. There's obviously a bit of discontent between the chairman and the manager. Yeah. But the owner and the manager, I don't see as being a problem. And I've always said that is the most important relationship for me, because I think Mr. Tan is the type of person that if the chairman and he didn't see eye to eye, the chairman would be gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's either you fall in the line behind my decision or you leave. And I think that's quite straightforward. I think he's quite a straightforward character that way.
So if you were the owner of Cardiff City, would you give him a new contract now?
Oh, I wouldn't have let it run to this situation. No. Yeah, I probably would have made the decision. Although he's only been here,
he signed quite a short deal.
Yeah,
he sort of signed a short deal by manager.
It's a strange situation because
it's honestly unheard of. It's almost rack your brain for the last time a manager ran down his
set up with short-termism in mind, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it seems to have been in the cost-cutting exercise across the board. That includes you, the manager, as well. We're not giving you a 4-year deal or anything like that, and we're almost asking you to come in as a stopgap sort of situation.
Well, I suppose you could say Vincent Tan had his fingers burnt in the sense of McCartney and particularly Solskjaer in the sense of suddenly thinking, right, we're firing you, where's my $2.5 million, you know what I mean, or whatever, for being there. So I presume that the thought was then, right, okay, get this guy in, as you say, short term, and that's what's effectively happened.
Would I give him a new contract?
Yeah.
I would say, as it stands and the improvement over the last couple of months, I would probably say you'd have to.
Yeah.
Because you've improved from the time you took over. And I'd be kind of contradicting myself if I said otherwise, because I always say, Rome weren't built in a day. To build a football club from the Championship to the Premiership and then solidify in the Premiership, it is very, very difficult. So I would say the situation he came into, not good. I would say I would give him a new contract, but I would also insist on someone.
I'd give him a new 5-game contract.
No, I'd give him a new contract, but I would also insist on someone a bit more experienced on his backroom staff.
I think one of the problems with it as well, which we've not quite touched on, is his record in the transfer market. It's not superb.
No. But then
And
again,
well,
the difference is neither was Solskjaer's, and Russell probably spent.
Right, okay, yeah, but I'm just saying,
a tenth of what.
Look,
Ollie
what
spent.
was his big season-long loan this year?
Amiobi.
Exactly. Various factors. Ravel, whatever you want to say. All I'm saying is, if you're talking for him, what would be the thing that's needed? Say they were to finish 7th this year, the next one. It's an improvement on that. Then the automatics, then the playoffs become not so much a bonus as a necessity. To do that, he's going to have to improve that squad that he's got. Do people trust him to do that in the summer transfer window?
I think that's where
because
Cardiff.
there might be a bit of money floating around.
I think that's where Cardiff have
depending
got
on
to
that.
put someone in the club who understands, the transfer market and what have you.
Yeah, i.e. a new manager.
And and looking to attract, a few big name players. But then again, that's going against what the owner's doing in cutting costs. So you're in a very strange situation for me. I've not seen the like of it before.
The most important thing for the club at the moment is selling season tickets for next year. Now, it's an interesting one, because what message do you want to send out to the fans? Is it that we have stability, we've given our manager a new new contract, or is it we're looking for somebody better than the current?
Buy a ticket, somebody exciting might be here.
There's probably 5,000 or 10,000 people not going to renew or not going to come back if Russell Slade, they know, is the manager for next
They can't
season.
sell season tickets off the back of here's a new 3-year deal for Russell Slade.
Because there's still.
You cannot.
Don't get me
I
wrong,
don't think so.
There's
I
the
don't
crowd
think
that's
you can.
down there, I think, at the moment, who have turned and have said, look, nothing's going to change between now and the end of the season, so let's just get behind. And actually, the more we're getting behind, the better the team is playing, and we might just get a bit of success out of this. So there's that situation, but generally, I think, like Tuck says, that's a really hard sell because it has created so much division for so long. Do you know what I mean? I think the ones with the stayaways, who are the obvious you're trying to get back, I think they need to come up with, a few.
It's not the biggest selling
ideas.
point in the world, is it? Look. Coming back, everybody. We're keeping the manager you weren't that into in the first place. So buy yourself a season.
But now they've turned it around. They're winning games. The fans are now behind them. They got this new formation. They look at different.
Well, this is what I say as a club. What you release is also important. It's no different to like an advertising for a certain food chain or something. Certain things stick in your head. So as the club, you've got to be able to say things publicly that you're kind of directing your fans where you want them to go. Do you understand what I mean? So for me, the first thing would be, like I've said, chief executive, chairman, whatever, you need to go out into the public domain, into the supporters club, supporters trusts, and sell the statistics. Say how things have improved, what the journey is, where you're going. And we all know we want to end up in the Premier League. But, it's not the yellow brick road. You need to give people, an ideal, a general ideal, how you're going to achieve that.
But it seems that they've finally got that, where even if they don't make the playoffs now, they've got a team where you think, that 11 or that 15 stays together.
I still think...
They're going to need a better team next season.
Exactly. You have to... Listen, you have to continually evolve, and your squad needs to evolve. Now, for me, the problem has been... You're always trying to buy and evolve. Yeah. If I said to you 10 years ago, you'll be in the Premier, Cardiff be in the Premier League. You come out of the Premier League, there won't be no Welsh players no Cardiff players in the Wales first team squad. They're going to the Euro Championships, and the academy wouldn't have produced a player for 6, 7, 8 years. You would have said, don't be so silly. Yeah. So there's a lot of fundamentals that they need to straighten out behind the scenes. But when you do those things, don't expect results overnight. As a club, I think fans are wise enough to know that if you try and change things, they ain't going to change from this season to the next. It is a gradual change. Don't get me wrong. If you put people in certain rules and regulations in the right place at the right time, you might just get ahead of yourself and end up like Bournemouth have, I think they're probably 2 years ahead of their plan, which they were putting in place. So it can happen. I've been at clubs when you're thinking, right, we over the next 2 or 3 years now we need to get promotion. Bang, it happens the same season. So it can happen, but I still think if you've got that plan in place and people understand that plan and back it, then you don't have so much of a problem.
Talking about Slade next season, I mean, there's one thing, he's winning over people now, right, with this side, with the results, with the performances. If you were to go out and talk to Cardiff City fans and say, and ask the question to them, do you trust Russell Slade, say they finish 7th, for example, we'll just say that for example, or even lost out in the playoffs over to Derby. If you went out and said to a Cardiff City fan, do you trust Russell Slade in the summer to bring in 5 new players, bed them into the side, find the formation, get them firing on all cylinders, find his best team early?
Yeah, that's part of the problem.
Do you trust him for that?
I think.
And I would say there's a lot of minds not being.
I think that's part of the problem. What Tux has touched on in the beginning there. Go out and buy 5 new players. That is what we've become. Like I just said, no players from Cardiff City are going to the Euros. Right? None whatsoever. There's zero. But so whoa! You just had to say. Hold on a minute. Okay. So what I'm saying is, you've got an academy, and not once have I heard Tuck say about the development of your own players and whether the quality is within your own club. That stops you having to go out and buy 5 players. We've gotten into this, for me, because we've got a billionaire owner. We're just gonna keep buying, trying to buy success. Mate, listen, it will always be better, more solid, more durable if it's grown organically from within. But it's as simple as that.
I'm no
and
expert.
the core of what we have.
Look, I'm no expert on the academy. I'm not an expert on but Burnley, Borough, the teams fighting at the top there, Brighton. Are they all jam-packed with young guys from Burnley, from Middlesbrough, who come up from the academy? I mean, Borough spent $6 million on Jordan Rhodes back in January. Yeah. You know what I mean? We weren't going into their academy going, oh, here's Fred Smith, he's this young 18-year-old, let's stick him in the side. I think when you're at that top end of the championship and you're chasing... It's probably the worst place in the world to start bringing through youngsters and trying to bed them in, unless they're of an incredible quality. And very mature.
Well, that's the whole idea of having an academy, is that you produce quality players. Now, if you've got a situation where they're not able to, then you've not got an avenue for them to get through into your first team. How would you ever know? You're just basically looking at one angle. You're going, right, we're not good enough, we need to buy a player. Okay, buy another player. What I'm saying is, just because Middlesbrough haven't done it or Derby haven't done it, doesn't mean they have.
For all they know, they might have like right back who's like 18 years old, who's from down the road.
They have got a few in their squad.
But I don't think it's prevalent.
What I'm saying is, it's important, and what it also does, it also reconnects that fan with your own local. There's no reason. The reason why Tottenham's saying he's one of our own, but Harry Kane, is because they feel a real affiliation to it, and it does improve that fan-player experience for me. So I think not to have it at all and keep moving away further and further from it. For me, no, you need to try and bring it back around. And
so we've spoken about this a lot. I mean, there must be various factors, and there can't be enough quality being brought through the academy for a start. If you had another Aaron Ramsey in there, it'd be quite obvious to everyone he'd be in the first side.
No.
I think someone of that quality surely would be. They'd have to be absolutely bonkers not to utilise someone like that.
No, I disagree.
Do you think there's kids of that quality in there who are being hampered and not given a route to the first team?
I think if you look at their academy over the last 8 or 9, since Aaron Ramsey, and say what you haven't been able to produce a goalkeeper, defender, midfielder or attacker, when, like I said last week, you've had basically the cream of the crop in Wales for the last 10 years going to Cardiff Academy.
Which is changing as well, as you
Which is changing. I can't believe that would be the case, mate. So I think, and again, like we said last week, the Regan pool incident highlighted it massively. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, between 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, a kid has gone from being released to Cardiff to walking on the pitch at Old Trafford.
But I mean, all I can guarantee...
We all make mistakes.
All I
but
can
that is
guarantee,
a
though,
real
I'll
ricket,
just say
innit?
one thing. This summer, say Slade finishes in 7th while losing the playoffs, gets a new contract and is building for next year, he ain't going to be turning around looking at the academy. No. He is going to be going out there going, I need a central midfielder, I want a winger, and we need a striker, crikey, yeah, a striker.
Yeah, so by your sentiment, then people like myself would never have got an opportunity.
No, I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying to you, that's what Slade will do.
I don't know.
Well, if there's somebody to come through, great. I hope they are brought through because it's, as you say, everybody wins. You've got a great young player in the side, and you've got that reconnection of like this kid's from Grangetown. He's a ball kick away from the Cardiff City Stadium. He's brought up. Bring it on.
I tell you who do it well still. Leeds United.
Yeah, they do bring him through, don't they? Fair play.
You know.
Well, there's one Welsh lad who is in the squad at the moment, Tom Lawrence. He was left out of the weekend. Steve wants to know what the situation is with him.
Well, I just think they must have
maybe tired.
Noon.
Maybe a bit tired.
Yeah,
maybe?
I mean, he played a lot. You know, he hit the ground straight away playing all the games, and I think the big factor was maybe thinking Noon was a better option out there. Now he's to
be fair
back
to
fit
Noon,
again.
He played well Tuesday when he came on.
Oh, there's 2 balls he put in for.
He wasn't so brilliant
Zahor,
against Ipswich, I don't think. But then again, you know,
Unbelievable.
It could be Slade just saying, if you come on and have a good game, like,
and also as well, Lawrence, how old is he? 21, 22. Perhaps there was that thought as well. But you know, it fits. Noon's fit again. He's been in great form. Lawrence is a bit tired.
Yeah, have a little rest.
Switch him around.
Yeah.
You know.
So let's talk about the present. Looking at the results on the weekend, you know, Derby, whatever happened to them against Rotherham, they now appear to have been dragged back into
3-3, innit?
And reports
3-0 up.
Reports coming through today. There was a massive row in the dressing room.
Oh, that is a row time.
Trouble in the camp.
3-0 and draw 3-3 against Rotherham. That's fight time.
Bear in mind they missed out last year as well, didn't they? On the whole thing. I mean, are they now on Cardiff's radar?
3 points ahead of Cardiff now, I think.
3 point gap.
Oh, they are well within striking distance.
I'd just say, you know.
They got to come here as well.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, Middlesbrough as well. I don't know what's going on there. It's almost like both leagues. No one wants to win the Premier League. No one wants to win the Championship because it's
Burnley
available.
Burnley
look probably the most solid.
They've come under the radar. I mean, when they came to Cardiff, they were 2-0 down and scrapped back to get a 2-2 draw.
Yeah,
they look far from.
I think they've just been solid. But what they've got is some good players who performed well in the Premier League who have stayed there, and they've gone out. And I think this is where we're missing the trick. As good as we've been playing, and as good as what's his name up front, Pilkington has been, we need strikers score 20-25 goals a season, and without it, this is what happens. You just languish just outside.
I mean, was it Pilkington, their top scorer, 8 goals?
You need a 20-goal season striker, and you know that's where our problems lie for me. Our major problem. We haven't got a striker. And it's great, this Pilkington thing, we've said it in the past, I've said it. I think it's a great adaptation, but I still think you need that out and out.
I think against Ipswich you saw as well the kind of limitations of it. You know, it took a set piece, great, they got it, but outside of that, they weren't opening them. You know, you struggled to think. I think Pilkington had a couple of chances in the second half. One was tipped like a header, but there wasn't that danger that you'd expect like a number 9 to bring. You know,
until it was desperation time, they threw everyone forward. It was the same there. First half against Leeds, it was like, well, where's the chance going to come from? We're not hitting the post, hitting the bar, or getting one-on-ones with the keeper. It's just not. But just going back to what I was saying about Derby, just having a look at their running. The next few games are Hull, Bolton, Charlton, Bristol City, Sheffield Wednesday, Brighton, and Ipswich. All teams with something to play for.
That looks tough.
Is that
paper?
Is that the sort of thing you'd want to avoid, Blakey? Or
mate, I'll tell you honestly. Personally, I used to go game by game. I wouldn't even know sometimes on a Friday until I got on the bus and said we're heading to Middlesbrough or heading to Norwich. I wouldn't even know because then you try and take my opponents in. You know, because regardless of which you're playing against him, and you mentality is you've got to beat the man you're playing against. So it's not going to change, is it?
Isn't it easier to play a Forest or a Wolves or
I don't think so at the moment. I don't think so. I think your Forest probably, because they're on a bit of a slide as well. But if you're playing like, I mean, Bolton, it pains me to say, but I think the inevitable is going to happen there. I think they're gone. But I think if you're playing like an Ipswich or a Reading or anything like that, I mean, Charlton, they got a chance of staying up still. I think they're all...
beat Middlesbrough yesterday.
Exactly. But you think yourself, there's something going on at Middlesbrough in the week, innit? So, I don't know, mate. It's just, I don't think there is an easy game at the moment. I think, like, if you're playing Forest, they need, because of their club size, their fan base, they're not going to accept them just dwindling out. Everybody, even if you think you've got nothing to play for, you have, because you're rebuilding for next season. Do you know what I mean? I think if you looked at someone like Leicester would be a prime example. You know, they took their form from the back end of last season and run it into this season and find themselves 8-9 games away from winning the title. You know what I mean? So your season started back last season, if you like. So that form was just carried on, that momentum has carried on. So for me, there's never...
Cardiff had a decent finish, didn't he, last season? And then, he sort of came in and...
But it didn't gain the momentum this season.
It came in with a win, a draw, a loss, a draw, a win.
They came in with an inconsistency.
They came in with that. They kept that. That's a good thing about Cardiff. They kept that inconsistency going.
The middle bit was pretty inconsistent, and as we look at the final 9 games, what do we expect? Just looking at the last day of the season, by the way, is Derby are playing Ipswich and Cardiff are playing Birmingham. So.
Yeah, that could be.
Slade said last week he maybe expects it to go to that day. So
I think it will. I think that'll be a definitive game, last game of the season. I think that'll be us or Birmingham. I think it'll be Sheffield Wednesday, ourselves, Birmingham, somebody else, maybe a Preston or something like that, all going for 6th spot, or all got the opportunity to 6th spot, and maybe 1 or 2 points in it.
I think Sheffield Wednesday, the lucky ones,
goal difference or something like that.
Sheffield Wednesday finish at Molineux on the last day.
I think Sheffield Wednesday got quite a reasonable...
Another tough one.
I mean, I know you said that on paper. I thought Sheffield Wednesday had quite not a bad run.
No, they have, yeah. But I think Wolves is the sort of game you want, because they're not going up, they're not going down. Sheffield Wednesday have got Ipswich, Derby and Cardiff all to play in a 7-game April.
It's going to be quite exciting, at least, isn't it? I think so.
Yeah, it's
going to be quite exciting.
Just wanted to talk quickly about the manager's situation elsewhere. I mean, with this Borough thing with Karanka, we don't know whether he's going to be sacked.
What has happened there?
Friedman has gone from Forest.
I always thought that was a big chance by Forest. I felt like the managerial appointments they've made, I just, no matter what, the shadow of Brian Clough is always going to figure over that club. And I just think the fans, their expectations are so great, you know what I mean? And so they should be, what they achieved. I think, I thought Dougie Freeman, I thought that was a big chance, especially if he come off the back of a great situation at Bolton, that maybe he fell out with the chairman or something like that. But it wasn't like, you didn't look at Bolton and think, wow, this could really be, the next best thing sort of thing. I just thought that was a bit of
I think my question was going to be, is this showing just how much pressure these clubs are under?
Oh, massive.
At this stage of the season.
Massive.
Are you having dressing room fallouts or?
Yeah, I always say though, they're better building a 3 to 5 year plan, right, than you are thinking, no plan and just every season we just chase, because you end up just chasing your tail. There is still something to be said that if you plan it right and put the right people in the right places, over 3 to 5 years, you should get that opportunity once, maybe twice, to get back to the Premier League. But if you keep just like 6 months change, 6 months change,
Well, look at Derby.
Trying to sell that to it's the most unsexy concept in football.
I know.
We'd like to unveil our 5-year plan. Really? Come on.
Yeah.
And Burnley are going the same route now as well. I mean,
longevity, isn't it?
And Hull, just total. You know where you stand with them.
Exactly. And they're at the
doing
top.
Okay. Borough are probably going to fall apart.
Yeah, but they, I mean, with Karanka, they did have they were on the second, third season with him. So they were. You were thinking to yourself, okay, that's going places. That's building. That's improving season upon season. So
I think it's
I think there will come a time when, you know, clubs will have to say, listen, we need to really sit down and think about this, because at the moment this is just like a merry-go-round. You know, it's becoming like, you know, if you're not successful, 10 games, you're gone. If you lose 8 or 9 games in the back-to-back, you're gone. Do you know what I mean? And I just think the greatest manager, arguably, that this country's ever seen, for the first 2 years of his career at Man United, wasn't great.
No.
Wasn't good at all.
No.
You know what I mean? And, you know, there's things that he had to sort out behind the scenes and things like that.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah. But the building process takes time, and that's never going to change, I don't think.
There's a man that didn't come out of the academy, but a couple of people asking about him, is Idris Sardi. Basically, where is he? What's the
where
latest?
is he?
Was he on the bench again? Apparently he's fit. I think... I mean, it must be very galling for him. Like, I'm a striker, here I am. There's not a striker on the pitch. I'm sitting on the bench there. I think he's just been... I mean, he's been unfortunate with injuries. Had that little spell fit again. I think Slade's suffering from... Well, not suffering, but getting that thing kind of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Don't change a winning team.
You know, he's kind of like getting a run of results. I presume he's loath to go in and move Pilkington back out and stick Sardi up there, who remains very much an unknown quantity.
Well, this is the point now, is in 9 games to go. You've got this 11 pretty much.
Yeah, you don't experiment.
Don't want to...
Well, he'd be leaving himself open to all kinds of things when if he used to go in there and meddle with that too much,
well,
and then they get done 3-0 at Reading.
Yeah.
All those people saying doff your cap at the end, be like, get on the pitch to throttle him or whatever. You know what it's like. But so I think Sardi's just a kind of victim of injuries, fit again, obviously not able to get in the
He's
side.
almost left it too late, doesn't he? If he'd come back in January time and had a run.
Well, he did the hamstring and he did it again, didn't he? Yeah. I mean, if he'd not had that second one, maybe he'd had a run of games by now. For all we know, he'd be on 12 goals or something. That's all purely hypothetical.
You can't mess up. Somebody said, I can't see who left the question, Blake, but somebody's asked, have you changed your idea that they're going to finish 8th, or do you think they're going to finish? No,
I still think we'll just finish outside. I really hope they do finish inside, obviously, but I don't know. I look and experience tells me when you keep missing opportunities and they keep arising and they keep presenting themselves, do you know what I mean? Like I said, Leeds and Saturday, we'd now be 2 points, I think, ahead of Sheffield Wednesday in the 6th spot. I just think you just can't keep missing the opportunities, because, like we said last year, you know, there's 25 games to go, and say, yeah, it'll soon be 15, and then all of a sudden, 6 weeks later,
this time last week it was 11, now it's 9.
Exactly, and you keep thinking, next game soon comes to an end. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I think they'll go to the wire.
Yeah,
I really do. I think there'll be 4 or 5 teams, 3 or 4 teams vying for the 6th spot, and I think we'll just miss out.
So you say it's an interesting time. I mean, it's Reading away Saturday, and then it's an international break.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be the perfect time just to hop into the playoffs, coming into a 7-game April?
I think any time to pop into the playoffs now be a really... I tell you what, that would be a really good time.
Here for the day.
I was a happy man at 20 past 3. No, but I mean, yes, by all means, you know, beat Reading and hoping that I think Sheffield Wednesday they've got something like Charlton or something, maybe having a renaissance. I know it was against Borough, but yeah, any time now. You know, it's still that thing that we said all along, though. What they could definitely do is that 3-4 game spurt now. That little kind of sudden spurt. I mean, and as Leeds shown us, and in a way the Ipswich game as well, where they didn't play as well, they've got the capabilities in there all the time. We say it. It's there. It's just sometimes it comes into practice. things go awry. But yeah, let's by all means on Saturday let's go in the playoffs. That's a good time.
7 games in a month, Blakey. That's a lot, isn't it? You're talking Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, and I think Ipswich have got 8 games in April, and it's just that's a big ask,
heavy.
isn't it?
It is heavy, but that's the Championship. It's I always said it's more difficult than the Premier League.
I don't think there's a tougher division in the world. I mean, I'm no expert on Paraguay's top flight, but I mean,
it sounds hard, doesn't it? It's hard. It's not often you sympathise with.
I mean, you've got to be a good side, but also you've got to have that incredible amount of stamina and staying power.
And you've got to be able to. You've got to be able to. You've got to have a good squad, but you've got to design your training so that it does this. You know what I mean? Peaks and troughs, you know. So if you know, right, this month we're going to be playing just 4 games, is it a chance to increase fitness levels? So we are really strong in January, but it's only November. Do you know what I mean? So it's such a fine, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye.
What about nerves? Does that come into it at this stage?
Yeah, I mean, it comes at every game. People suffer with nerves.
Especially, say, Derby, the team that have been looking.
Oh, listen.
They suddenly
what's happening? What'll happen at Derby is when they play at home, their fans will remember what happened last season, what's happening this season. A few big name players, they'll be on their backs. Just like you've seen what Bournemouth done to Newcastle the other day. Yeah. They'll just the crowd. When it's against you at home, or with you, but only for 10 minutes, it's difficult. You need to really show some to get out and play. So, I don't know, you know, it's not a bad thing what's happening to Middlesbrough and Derby for the likes of Cardiff.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've spoken about this 11, the start to emerge tax. I mean, obviously, you put Lawrence out on the weekend, brought Noon in. Any other sort of subtle little changes like that you could see before this Reading game? Just a rest one, or...?
Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Lawrence come back in for that, and maybe Noon.
But what about Marshall? What's the situation with him?
He's got a virus. I think they're monitoring it early this week. Depending on what, I'm not an expert on viruses. I hope it's nothing. Surely you would imagine a few days in bed and he'll be ready. He would be ready. I don't know. So that's over. I mean, just a word for Simon Moore, of course. I mean, I feel so sorry for Simon Moore because every time someone sees his name on the team sheet, they're like, "Oh no, it's Simon Moore." I mean, not in the sense of "Oh no, it's Simon Moore," but "Oh no, it's not David Marshall." Where on earth is he? So, and I thought Simon Moore again. I mean, obviously he had a little more action this season than he thought he might because he started the season, didn't he? Because Marshall was suspended, and then there was that. There was a suspension a bit later on, so he played again. But thought he played all right. Just looked a bit dodgy on crosses again. But I can't see them changing it much now.
Wayne is saying that Rawls needs a rest.
I actually thought that. I think I said it. I mean, I said that a few weeks ago.
They look a bit leggy,
I thought he looked a bit tired. I think he's actually sort of seems to bounce back a bit now. I'm not quite sure how he's done it.
I would say he looked good against Leeds again, and he was full of running. Not so much Saturday, but for me again, that's. It's difficult. I always say it's difficult when you do bring the young lads in. For them to, like we were just saying, Ipswich got 8 games in April. Well, young lads always say, "Oh, I should be in the first team. I think I should be in the first team. I could do that." Until you get there, you don't realise, mate. Really, you don't realise. And I say, you know, people like Rawls and that, and Lawrence, you know, at the right time, you can rest them, and you know, and I don't mean he doesn't have to rest 90 minutes, but Rawls over the course of 2 or 3 games when you're winning, you know, you can bring him off because what you are bringing on is someone like Goodnison who has that experience. You can say, right, we're 2-0 up, just sit then. You know what I mean? Don't bomb on, just sit and protect that 2-0. We'll get out of dodge, 3 points onto again. You know, Rawls has missed, you know, 40 minutes over 2 games, saved his legs a bit, you know, cut down his training a little over a couple of days, but as you know, the analyzer or whatever, they got to see all these because they got all the equipment. They got all the analysts they need. You know, they got the managers. They all understand what's going on. So that's where, you know, all that back science and everything comes into play. So that should be something that they've got.
Sean Morrison is back among the ranks again. Any prospect of him breaking
I wouldn't change that one.
No, they're not going to change Manuel Connolly. The other doubt is Whittingham came off with I think was it a calf, I think, which he's had. Now that would be. I thought Whittingham was great again. I gave him man of the match against Ipswich. I thought he was superb for long periods. I thought again from the dead ball he was back. There was a moment in the first half, I think it was, where
you're giving people man of the match for dead ball situations now.
Well, I think
is that what you do?
That's an aspect of it. That's an aspect of it. That's an aspect of it.
I can take corners and free kicks and get man of the match. I wish you were
No,
right
I
in my
mean,
day.
it wasn't. They weren't all dead ball. I think in the first half there was a moment about 3 times within like 2 minutes. He put balls into the Ipswich box. They were all over the shop. They went right in. They were just like came back out.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
It was metronomic. I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it.
Okay. It's like saying a keeper kick the ball off the ground from 6-yard box and we'll go kick.
Well, I've seen that not happen as well, I'll be honest.
Fantastic.
There was a clearance off the line at one. It was the world's easiest goal line clearance happened.
And the bonus was that Peltier got fit, of course, because there was a big worry about him after Bristol, wasn't it?
And of course they got Fabio back because it was just the 1 match suspension, so that's good. I mean, that was really important because if Peltier hadn't made it with his foot thing, you'd have had Connolly shunted out and then Morrison in, which would might have been a change too far, but that worked out well. I just can't see Slade going in there and messing around with it with it too much at all.
Because if he did and then they started losing, you're finished.
Well, it's only if one of them's got an injury that he can't shake off.
Or you can see he's looking tired, and you at this point you don't make major changes anyway. No. Minors, like I say, injuries, calf muscle, tiredness. Someone's in the red, like from the science or wherever and you make a change, but you try not to change at the back. You try and keep that goalkeeper back 4.
Well, I mean, look, it's taken them to March to find the best side. Don't change it again now for no reason whatsoever, surely.
I mean, never mind all the sports science text. The best thing about the Reading game is that it's on a Saturday, isn't it?
Yes, this is a story where Blakey won't know about this. We were doing this today. I think it was a guy called Richard who contacted me. I think he's contacted the show as well. Yeah. And he pointed out, you might actually be able to cast some light on this. You were talking earlier about peaks and troughs, Tuesdays. Let me get this right. Championship games played on a Saturday this season, right?
Not many.
Cardiff have lost 3 all season. Championship games played on any other day, be that a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, played a Friday thing. They've lost 6 and only managed to win 2 of them. Of 33 points, God, this is the science bit. Of 33 points available on championship games not on a Saturday, they've taken 9 points.
Okay.
I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Is there a reason? Is it a fitness thing, or is it just just a weird statistic that's been? They just seem on a Saturday to sort of perform and to get the results. Is that they've only lost?
It just means you have to improve on a Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, wherever. No,
even I knew that they need to improve. I just wondered. We were just interested in it because it's quite a weird disparity between them. To be so. Although they probably drawn too many on a Saturday.
Yeah,
that was going to be my next point. I was going to say, how many games were they drawn on a Saturday? Because I think that's where they're let down.
They've drawn 10 on a Saturday.
Really? So I think it's the fact that they've drawn games, whether it be a Saturday or a Tuesday, which is why they're in the position they're in. I don't think it's really playing on
points-wise. So you look, the last time they won on a game not played on a Saturday was December 15th or 12th. They beat Brentford.
And even that,
they've had 5 games not on a Saturday then. They've lost 4 and drawn 1 of them. I don't know. I just find it fascinating. I find it such a big...
Yeah.
I think you're searching there, mate. I think you're clutching a bit there.
Oh, I'm not saying it's really a reason.
I was hoping you were going to come in and say, oh, yeah, well, the thing is, because sleeping patterns or whatever it is.
I just thought it was...
I'm not getting a science analogy. I just think
you don't think...
He just found something and he's just, he's got...
I think I found the secret. The secret of the dodgy season.
You're going to write a book on this.
I played my whole morning looking at it. It's been fascinating. I just find it really weird.
it fascinating.
And particularly as you actually were making the point just this thing, going, it's all about fitness levels and peaks and peaks. Well, they're not doing that.
What's not doing it?
Cardiff. They're not going Saturday, Tuesday and picking up.
But you get the fixtures at the start of the season. You know where.
I was aware of that.
You know where you're going.
I get excited that day.
You know where you're going to be
Can't
playing.
Sleep,
you know where you're going to be playing on a Friday night or a Sunday and what have you. But when fixtures obviously with cancelled games and stuff like that, they're the games that usually throw you out a bit.
Oh, right, added games.
Yeah.
The good news is, of course, they've only got 2 more Tuesday games. The bad news is one of them's at Burnley.
I think
And one of them's at
They're going to
Brentford.
win that. That's Cardiff all over.
That's the kind
That's
of, well,
true.
they might do that. But anyway,
We've
built that article up really
Yeah,
badly,
I
but
look
look
forward
out
to
for it
reading it,
later. Thanks, Blake.
We'll do Blakey's response to it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Blakey.
You know, it's like those stats can, you know, you can have. I always say stats matter. Of course they do, because they're a good way to judge things. But you know, there are situations where you can have a game and you could have 70% possession and lose 1-0. Do you know what I mean?
Anyway, right, I'll come to your predictions for Red in a minute, but I've just got to read out Andrew's.
Come on, Drew.
Which is brilliant. With the apparently very good relationship between Stan and Slade, is it possible Slade might be moved into a sporting director's type role with a new manager coming in? Idor Karanka looks like he might be available.
There's a lot of people available.
That would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Dougie Friedman's available.
That'll sell a few season tickets, Blakey.
Wouldn't it be more likely to bring in a director of football and
think
keep
so.
Slade as like a coaching?
That's what I was
Wouldn't
thinking.
that would be that way around rather than.
I think Gaz is just trying to like.
He's throwing us a curveball.
Anyway, right, Red in away. You both predicted 2 wins last week, unless I'm mistaken.
Did we?
Yeah.
Seems like
We always predict a win. At this stage of the season, it would just look bad if
seems
we
to be like a nice trip Saturday afternoon. Reading, mid-table
o'clock.
team. They're not going up.
You
Not
think they're
down.
going like on holiday or something?
That's what it feels like.
On the beach
It's
at
just
Reading
springtime
and
now, the
chilling.
sun's coming out,
Yeah,
you know.
it's nice
Loving
stuff.
it.
Just a nice place to go. Get a
Red's a
2-0 win.
tough place.
I'll go for a draw.
Tough place.
I'll go for a draw.
Yeah, I'll
now.
go to 2 draw.
I'll go for 1-1 draw, which is not ideal, obviously, but not a disaster either.
Yeah, I mean, would that be enough? Is that good enough for them at this stage?
No, they need wins.
Yeah.
If I'm totally honest.
You just look at Ipswich,
enough
for
for them
example.
if Sheffield
Ipswich have got
win.
Blackburn tomorrow and then Rotherham on Saturday. If Ipswich pick up 6 points, I mean, Rotherham's far from
mighty Rotherham.
Rotherham's not the place you're going to go and
Nobody wants to play them at the moment, I know.
no.
But still, if
Chef
Ipswich gets
Wednesday have
6
got
points and Cardiff only
Charlton, I
get
think.
1.
I think we could do this ifs and buts and that. You know, you just got to focus on your own results and hope that others go for you at the end of the day, because I think there's more than Ipswich that can affect us. I think Birmingham.
I only mention them because they got 2 games this week, so they make the biggest.
This is Ipswich's
It's so
game
hard.
in hand.
It's
Yeah.
just
Blackburn.
it's just almost impossible to predict this season. I think that's going across, like I'm saying, most of the leagues. The Premier League. I mean, you can't predict
If it's impossible to predict, why do they keep
Championship.
asking us for predictions?
that. No, we haven't done well this season. I
Show
don't
us
think.
up.
Tux.
Oh, my microphone's popped off. The excitement.
So, going to the international break probably in 8th with a draw.
No,
5 points off the playoff.
Yeah.
I mean, I even if you go into the break where there's 2 or 3 teams on level points, or
That
a point
could well be the
between
case,
you,
couldn't
which
it?
I
Yeah.
can see being the case, split by goal difference, stuff like that. It is starting to get that congested for that 6th spot. So, mate, no one's under any illusions. It is going to be right to the wire.
Do they want a break right now?
Cardiff? If I was the manager, I'd probably take them away for 4 or 5 days somewhere hot, get some good
But
training.
now you're talking
Barry
about holidays.
Island.
Why is everyone
Barry
talking-
Island.
They're all on the beach.
Get them some good training in warm weather. You know, high intensity, but also a lot of relaxation. 3 or 4 days, get home, and then get back to work.
Do you fancy covering that trip, Steve?
Where are they going? Barry Island?
Where was it? Where did you say it was in La Manga? So,
Something like
I'll
that.
go anywhere that's sunny. Yeah, to be honest, bring it on. I'll go with that. I'm not sure what
Jump to Alaska.
I'm not sure what our bosses here would think about that. They probably say call them on the phone.
yeah, that's right.
That'll
That's
do.
right. Okay, well, I think that'll do us for today. Thanks very much again, gents. Thanks for joining us. And keep up with all your Cardiff City news on Wales Online.